Hi, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about collecting, and we're going to talk about vinyl. Everybody probably recognizes what these are. These are record albums. Uh, this was the dominant way that music was presented for perhaps a 30-year period. These albums are ones that you can find in your neighborhood in almost any thrift shop rather. This is the band Chicago. You may be familiar with their music. Peter Frampton. Prior to Frampton Comes Alive, prior to Michael Jackson's Thriller album, this was the highest selling album in the world. And here's, of course, Bruce Springsteen. You may well be familiar with him in one of his albums. And other groups from the 70s, 80s, 60s, Seals and Crofts, Judy Collins, the Moody Blues. There's really great music that you can find, and surprisingly enough, Cat Stevens, this was a very popular album, and you can find it in almost any thrift store at one time or another, easily found and acquired. You also probably notice that the artwork on these albums is really something special. I have a friend who actually decorated his office by collecting album covers and framing them. They're really a good selection out there. I'd like to say something about this form, the record. It's different from the CD. It's different from the MP3. It's not computer generated. Basically what happened here is that the sound of the human voice was converted into electrical energy, and then it made an impression in the grooves of the record. That's true of the voice, that's true of the music, and that was how the master was made. And then mechanically, those ridges, indentations, the sounds were reproduced the way they were on the master. So that every record album is essentially an echo of the instruments and the human voice trapped in these vinyl canyons of the grooves that make up the record. And that's why a record can be damaged by the human hand. And that's why it can be damaged, because these grooves can change their shape and be reflected in the music. But there are many audiophiles, there are many music lovers who insist that the record is best. Now, of the records, the vinyl was kind of late in the game. Earlier there was a harder substance called shellac. It looks about the same, but in the 30s and 40s, the more dominant jazz era, shellac, this harder substance, was used to make records. And those records were played at 78 revolutions per minute, as opposed to the 33 and a third revolutions of the average record album. And that is said to produce a higher fidelity and a more rich, detailed kind of sound. And if you think this is passé, I was just listening in the BBC and heard that there are groups in England and America who are once again beginning to use that older technology, the hard technology, the shellac technology, to produce records because of its greater fidelity to music and its ability to capture subtlety, the real subtlety of live sound. Now, I know that that may sound strange to you, but there's kind of a spiritual connectedness between many people and the fact that what they're listening to on this kind of record is an actual echo of the human voice, and that what you listen to in an MP3 or on a CD or on these other computer-generated or preserved forms of music are not really echoes, but the machine's impression of what that sound was. Some people are so pure in this desire to listen to that echo of the human voice that they don't even use regular amps with their computer chips and their transistors and those things, but instead have tube amplifiers, if you've ever seen a tube amplifier, because that is the best way to produce up the original sound and the way that this music was originally produced. So if you'd like to hear music, it's fairly easy to acquire, and there's a great collection, particularly as it gets older, of jazz, early rock and roll. It's a great way to spend a weekend searching for these little treasures. You'll have to acquire a record player to do that with. But that phono jack on the back of your amp, that's what it's for, and you can listen to music the way people did for decades. Thank you.